So in this video, we're going to learn how to apply stitch brushes to a garment as opposed stitching via the stitch brush method as opposed to using the dash line method. So let's say this straight skirt, we want to apply some stitching to the hem. So you get your direct select tool, so select the anchor so that because we want to copy the line, the path here, the curve of the hem, because we really want a mirrored copy, and then so that it looks perfectly symmetrical and it follows the line of the hem, because that's the way it would look in real life. So if I go Command C for copy or Control, and Command F or Control F, and then you remove your fill and just start arrowing it upwards until you reach the desired hem, hem length, or width for the stitch. So usually hems, like on a skirt like this, are around about 2.5 centimeters. They wouldn't be way down the bottom here. So if you just have to think about the garment that you're trying to construct, and if you're copying a sample, then you will need to just look at that. So the way you create the stitch brush method using it's like a tongue twister. The way that you apply a stitch brush is we've already set up the brush. So we have the brush in our brush palette, and you can see I've got it here and here. So if I think this is a thinner one than that one. So if I just draw the line as I did, I copied and pasted the hem line and pasted it in the right position. And all you need to do now is apply the brush. So when you can see now, it has just applied an effect to the stroke, okay? And it's a stitch effect. So if I go to my stroke now, I don't want to keep it 1 point because we always make our stitching 0.5, half the width of the outline, so it's a lot lighter. So there you go. And if I just zoom in, you can see I've got a nice distance. But you looked at that in the setup, and yeah, it's nice and even running the whole way around the hem. So let's just have a look at what that looks like. Let's just say we had we wanted to do stitching on the top and bottom parts of the front waistband. So you could go you would direct select the center front anchor, and you go Command or Control C, and then Command or Control F to paste to the front. F for front. Is a good way to remember this. No fill, and then I would tap on my upwards pointing arrow on my keyboard until I get it in the right position, and then I'll just apply my brush again, and then I'll bring it down to 0.5 on my stroke. So the stroke is the the stroke weight. This you can either increase it to make it thicker or decrease it to make it smaller. So I'm going to tap on my down arrow just to get that into. I don't want it too close to the seam because otherwise it just appears really thick. I'll show you. If I do this, you can see it sort of just merges with the seam and it looks really thick. So I'm going to just arrow that up a little bit, and then I'm going to do the same for the top. So I'm going to go, the quality of your stitching is only as good as the quality of your waistband. So if your curves here aren't looking so good, like they're a bit asymmetrical, or you've accidentally split a handle and it's creating a little bit of asymmetry and a bit of a bump through there, you're not going to get the good waistband. So if you've watched the skirt video, you'll understand that you need your handles to be perfectly horizontal in order to and joined up, in order to be to get a really nice curve. So Command or Control C, Command or Control F, and then remove your fill, and then arrow downwards. Apply the effect to the brush, and then move it into 0.5. And I can see I've actually done it in the right place, so that's good. So I'll click on my keyboard to deselect, and you can do the same for the back. So what I recommend though is, because you don't have a whole waistband on the back, you've actually got it in 2 halves. What you need to do is you need to look at you need to select the line segment rather than the center line, center anchor point. So the only reason why we select the center front anchor here is because when you select an anchor, it selects the line segment to the right and the line segment to the left. So that enables you to copy the whole path. But with this one here, so what we want to do is actually just select the line segment, because if we select that, it's going to select the line to the right and then to the left of it. So just select the line segment by itself. So go back and just select it. You can see that I haven't selected those anchors because they're still white, which is good. Shows that they're not in selection. They have not been selected. So I go Command C, Command F, and I will arrow down. I'm going to remove my fill and apply my stitch and make it 0.5. And then I'm going to just arrow it down to place. So once you've got that looking good, you can go to your selection tool. You could actually right click and transform, reflect, and make a copy. If you just select make reflect, it'll just reflect the stitching but not make a copy. Start dragging, hold down shift and place it on the opposite side. So what you want to do here is I haven't released the finger on my mouse yet. When I've got it in place, you can see my red guide shows me where the stitching will be. So if I release the finger on my mouse or trackpad and then I release my finger on shift second. So what I can see now is when I've reflected that over, it actually still exists. If I go Command Y, you can see it's actually still there, but it's actually underneath. So what I Command Y to come back to preview mode. Once you do that Command C, Command F, especially if you've done it on a joined shape, like it's not joined, grouped. These are all grouped together. So you just need to ungroup because it will have just grouped it. So maybe I will just, so my stitching sits behind here. So I can go arrange and send to the back. And you can see, oops, that's not gonna, actually it will be fine. So I'm actually going to just remove that line. That line was actually left over. That line was actually just left over when I made my waistband. But here is my actual back. I'm going to go right click and send that to the back as well. So yeah, so now, yeah. So you can do that. This will happen if you do things like reflect darts and stuff as well. So what you need to do is just, I mean, you could have just gone Command C, Command F and done that. But, and you know, that's perfectly fine. You can do that. But it's always good to know that how you can reflect and copy something to the other side, because that's, yeah, that's how we create symmetry in our drawings. So when you look at the kick flap, I've got up here, I'm going to put some stitching in for my fly zip. So I'm going to go put on here. If you want to keep it perfectly vertical, you can hold down Shift, and I'm going to bring it down to wherever I think. How deep is your zip opening? So I'm going to put it to about here. It doesn't need to get too long. She only needs to be able to get in or out of it. So if I go click and then hold down Shift to get it horizontal, a little right angle, and then release, escape, sorry, and then put my stitching on and then come down to 0.5, and there you go. I'll just deselect. You can see I've added my stitching in there. So the other thing I'll zoom out is you want to add stitching here, like because this is a little kick plate or a flap, depending on, it's just a little vent. There's so many words for it, but what it does essentially is it allows the wearer a little bit more movement in walking. So we can say maybe it's going to start about there. So let's have a little look. Let's draw a little line. And I would encourage you to examine garments, look online or look at your own. If you've got a straight skirt or a pencil skirt with a kick flap, you'll see that there's a little stitching here. It basically just reinforces it at the top and holds it in place. So what I'll do is escape, and then I'm going to apply my stitching, and I'm going to bring that down to 0.5. And then, you just have a look at it. If you feel like you need, this angle isn't, quite right, you can always arrow left, right arrow inwards, or you can physically pick it up and bring it in. But I kind of tend to think it's kind of out like that. So, yep, you have got garments that you will be copying, and you need to follow those. So anyway, that is the stitching for the skirt.